Hi, my name is Alexander. When I was 12, life was amazing. My parents loved each other, and there were never any fights. Even when financial conditions were tight, we'd go through it together. One day, my dad bought a lottery ticket, and we thought about everything we could do together as a family if we won the lottery. The day of the results came in, and surprisingly, we won the money!
We can now buy a car, finally!
And I can get that Xbox I've wanted for so long. But the look on my father's face was a bit different. I don't think we should waste the money, he said. And honestly, it's not our money, but mine, because I was the one to buy that ticket. Things started changing. Little did we know, my father had started thinking selfishly. He didn't give us a penny and spent a lot on himself. He even got a luxury car. My mother and I didn't ask anything again because of how hurt we were. Days passed by. My father's behavior had worsened, and he'd even started giving rides to some young women. When my mother confronted him about how he was always hanging out with other women and buying them expensive dresses and jewelry, he said, "I am rich now. Why would I only live with a stinky woman like you? You don't even look young anymore. And no pretty dress would ever suit you." And left the house. I saw my mother cry but felt helpless. My father continued to do this thing, and my mother and I were in agony. And then, one day when I came home from school, I saw my father leave the house with his stuff. I was scared and couldn't understand what was going on. My mother was crying and begging him to stay.
Please don't leave. How will I take care of Alexander by myself? Please don't leave us all alone.
But he didn't listen to anything she said, got into his car and left. After that day, my mother and I started living alone. Luckily, we didn't have to leave our house, but there was no money for anything, not even food. That's when my mother started working at a restaurant as a waitress. She'd work hard all day and extra hours at night. 6 years passed and I turned 18. That's when I decided to get a job and help my mother with the expenses. After applying for 10 jobs, I finally landed a good paying one at a 5-star hotel. My duty was to clean the floor and bathrooms. Things were still hard, but I was able to provide a little extra money for my mother. One day, something weird happened. While I was cleaning the bathroom, I saw a wallet on the sink. I was scared to even touch it because it looked so full, but I had to do something about it, right? So I picked it up and opened it to see the ID of the owner. But before I could do that, I saw the money boiling out of it. I had second thoughts. I wanted to keep the money and leave the wallet right there, but then I was reminded of what my mother had taught me. I knew exactly what to do. Even though I needed the money, this wasn't the right way to acquire it. I went to the hotel's front desk and asked them to make an announcement about a lost wallet, but someone had already informed them about the wallet and requested to call them if they found it. "Oh, thank you so much," he said desperately. "A guest has been looking for this. Thanks a lot for finding it." I was happy that I did the right thing and left work to go home. Things were once again just like usual. I was cleaning and doing other stuff. One day, I was called into the main office. At first, I was super scared, but I had to go and see what was going on. When I entered the office, I saw the same front desk worker, the boss, and a stranger who I'd never seen before. It was confusing, and my mind was going over everything I'd done in the past few days to contemplate what might have gone wrong. But their faces didn't seem like they were mad at me. My boss asked me to sit down and said, "Great work, Alexander. I am so proud of you. Can't believe that such an honest person works at my hotel." And then the stranger spoke up. "So you're the one who saved me from such big trouble that day. You remember the wallet you found? It was mine, and I was looking for it everywhere. If it weren't for you, I would have missed an important meeting as my pass for entry was inside the purse. You found it at the right time, and I was able to make it to the meeting. Thanks a lot for your honesty." I was still confused and couldn't say anything other than a "thank you." But then the weirdest thing happened. The stranger pulled out a check from inside his pocket and handed it over to me. "Here's a little gift from me. You helped me save millions, so I think you also deserve $1 million. I was shocked. It felt like I was in another world. I even pinched myself to confirm it wasn't a dream. "I know this isn't enough for what you've done for me, but please accept it." I looked at my boss. He was standing there with his jaw dropped and eyes wide open. But he encouraged me to take the check. The figures written on it blew my mind. I couldn't believe this was even happening. There was a whole flood of emotions flowing through my mind and heart. This was a big blessing for me. All my life, lack of money had put me and my mother in trouble, and it was money that made my father selfish enough to leave us behind. But now, all of a sudden, every problem seems to be solved. It was a whole $1 million. I decided to discuss it with my mother because she was the one who's been there for me all along. I went home, and right when I was going to call out for my mother, I saw someone sitting on the couch watching TV. It wasn't my mother. It was a man. It was my father! After so many years, he decided to return because his new wife had spent all the money he had won from the lottery. "Oh, hi, son. How long has it been since I last saw you?" he said. And he stood up, looking at me, thinking I'd hug him and welcome him with a smile. But, well, the old man really thought I'd be doing that. My mother finally explained it to me and said,
"Your father is sorry for everything he's done. He doesn't have a home to go to anymore. So let's just forgive him and give him another chance."
I was amazed at the kindness my mother showed him, but I didn't know how to react. It was almost impossible for me to forgive him. And how could I? He left me when I needed him the most and never looked back until his own life was a mess. Right when I had gotten some money, this man decided to return. It was more like he knew that he could get some money out of me by returning, but it wasn't something I wanted to do. Because I knew I couldn't throw him out, I decided to bear with him and do something with the money I had in secrecy. Luckily, I knew Jacob. We had been friends since college, and this guy, I tell you, is a business genius. I contacted him in hopes of asking for advice. That's when he told me about the new venture he was going to start and was looking for investors. "You contacted me at the best time. I am soon to start a restaurant, and if you wish, you can become an investor and earn a profit on a 50% basis." The idea seemed pleasing to me, and I offered him half the amount to start the restaurant. It took us a while. We worked hard and hired the best chefs. In the beginning, it wasn't much of a success, but then we decided to change our advertising and marketing policy. A few months in, there was a bit of success. That's when Jacob and I decided to make some more changes to the restaurant. This time, we came up with the idea to allow our guests to hold the stage and sing their hearts out. We also hired some great singers who could sing and keep our guests entertained. This obviously cost us money, but I knew this would help the restaurant. Even though our competitors also had a similar theme, no one allowed the guests to take the stage. Nor did they have special music themes for meals on the menu. Some clips from these singing sessions went viral on the internet, and people were commenting saying, "I'd love to go to a place like that, eat, sing, and enjoy. I've been there and would love to go back. It's so fun to hear people sing without being shy." After the hard work of a whole year, our restaurant finally took off, and we were getting hundreds of guests every day. Our hard work paid off, which ultimately meant that we were earning a lot of money. I still hadn't told my parents about it, because my father was continuously mooching off of us. But one day, he crossed the limits. He asked Mom for some money, and when she refused to do so, he beat her up. I was furious and was done with his behavior. That was when I also found out about his drinking habits. He had been spending money on alcohol. In fact, my mother told me something even worse.
"He stole the ring my mother gave me and sold it to buy alcohol,"
she said. I was devastated. I couldn't stand him anymore. This was enough damage he had done to me and my mother. That's when I decided that we were leaving the house. "Mom, we are moving out of this hellhole, and this man is not coming with us," I said firmly.
"Where will we go? We don't have another place to stay."
I smirked and told her about the restaurant and how I was earning millions of dollars. My mother couldn't believe me at first, but I showed her all the pictures of the restaurant. She was happy and satisfied. We started packing up, and my mother decided to put the house for sale. After all, it was in her name. I agreed with her, because that was the only way to get my father out of there. I made sure the house was sold for a good price and gave all the money to my mom because it was hers to keep. The new owners threw my father out, and he was genuinely left without a penny. It's been years, and I sometimes get calls from him asking to let him in my house that I bought soon after moving out with Mom. He's become a total addict, and I have no idea where he stays, probably at some shelter. But honestly, my mother and I are living a perfect life in our beautiful home, and none of us wants to see him again. What he did to us was selfish, and I don't think we owe him even a penny. I had thought that I had nothing to do with my father anymore, but then, one day, I received a call. It was the police. I couldn't understand at first. Why'd the police call me? And just before I could say anything, the cop revealed something. "Alexander there?" "Yes, that's me. How can I help you, sir?" "This is the police department, and we're calling to inform you about your father." My heart felt like it had stopped beating at any minute. So many questions went through my mind. Was he injured? Did he get in an accident? I was worried sick, and then the cop revealed that it was because my father was arrested on charges of an attempted mugging. At first, I didn't want to go to his rescue, but I also didn't want him to stay in jail, so I eventually went to the police station. I knew that I wouldn't be able to save him from jail time, but if I could make a deal with the victim, things could get easier. I met the guy who got attacked by my father. All I could do was offer some money, and that I did. Luckily, the guy understood my situation and took what I was giving. This happened mostly because my father didn't actually take anything from him. He was only trying when he got caught. The charges were taken down, and my father was free again. But now, the question was, would I take him back? I couldn't do that. He asked me to take him home. "Please take me home with you. I don't have any place to stay or any money to get some food. I can give you money. That's the most I can do." I had brought the money with me because I knew I couldn't get out of that mess without it. I handed him a few $1,000s and took him to a rehab center with me. Got him admitted there because he'd become a total addict, and that's what almost led him to jail as well. My father is still in rehab, and I think he's becoming a better person. I still don't know if I'd want him in my house after he's recovered, but for me, it's enough of a satisfaction that I didn't become like him. What do you think? Should I let my dad back in my life again?